feel like Kobe in the fourth quarter.
This is the Day More NBA podcast. We are brought to you by Prize Picks, coming at you Thursday morning. It's March 12th. The Wolves are on a 3-game losing streak. They lost to Orlando at home by 27 on Saturday. They lost to the Lakers by 14 on Tuesday. And last night, they were down by 31 when Finch cleared the benches and ultimately lost to the Clippers by 25 points in that game. We're going to talk about this recent streak that the Wolves are on, moving in the wrong direction. I'm joined today by Kyle Theige. Kyle, we did an episode 6 days ago, and I titled it, "The Vibe Around the Wolves is Changing." They were on a 5-game winning streak at the time. I guess on the surface, it seems reactive that a week later it would feel this way now. But something's changed. What's changed this week?
Well, they keep getting their asses kicked. That's changed. A little. The vibes are different. The vibes are not what they were 6 days ago. But I think last night the loss to the Clippers, 153-128, third blowout loss in a row. It's the lowest point of the season, and with few games remaining, there's like 18 games left, 17 games left. It's valid now if you want to freak out. And I know that there's people probably listening to this that never bought in on this team or whatever, but I think at this point, like it's a panic moment, because to me, it's not just like what the final score is. Like, I've watched all 3 of these games, 2 of them being late West Coast ones, which I'm sure for the Central Time Zone folks really ruined your night and your next day, ruined my night and my next day. And they're just thoroughly getting dismantled everywhere. Defensively, offensively, they don't look like they have any juice. Post-game quotes, not great. Coaching, not great. Maybe we can talk about, I think, my word of the year, game plan. And it's wild. I don't know what happened in that second quarter against the Magic. A Magic team, by the way, that I like, and they're physical and they're big. But, what was the synopsis after that? We just didn't hit shots. I don't know if you knew this, they hit shots against the Clippers. I got a little stat for you here, and I'll throw it to you. But I think Minnesota was the first team in NBA history that a team shot 59% from the field and 44% or better from 3 and lost by 20 or more points. So that's where we are right now.
Which is where we've been before, which is turnovers.
Yep.
But, when this team is going the wrong way, especially offensively, and it translates into the defense, is because they're committing live ball turnovers left and right, and they're doing that by driving into crowds, not moving the ball, and trying to, solve a bad vibe all on their own, right? And the only player who's really capable of doing that is Anthony Edwards. He can go and score against whatever coverage or loaded up defenses and stuff like that, but they need him, as was evidenced last night. Big, efficient scoring game from Ant. But nobody else can do that on this team. And everyone else on the team requires the ball to be moving, big, passed without being turned over consistently for them to get any sort of offensive rhythm, because it used to be, okay, things break down, you can go to an Ant isolation. That's obviously going to be a decent thing to get. And you had the Julius option as well. But when they're now devolving into anything other than an Ant bail them out possession, there's just nothing that can, there's just nothing that's scoring consistently enough, or scoring consistently enough to counter the opponent's scoring rate, given how much that team's scoring. Like the Clippers last night, 150, who's just getting out in transition. The Wolves had 15 turnovers in the first half. Yeah, like those things connect together as they have all season. The hope was 66 games into the season, that wouldn't be as easily diagnosable, as it was earlier in the season. You're like, okay, you could be like, well, they're figuring some of this stuff out, yada, yada, yada. It feels like they never figured any of this stuff out, and have kind of been surviving. And now it feels like they need to figure it out all over again. I don't know. It's Yeah. A concerning issue with this team's offense, that offense, when it's not working, translates to the defensive side of the ball, which is supposed to be what keeps this team afloat, with at being, as they call it, their identity. That these things are compounding on top of each other.
Okay, so hand up. I did not listen to your pod with Britt. I'm sure it was great. My dog learned how to get on counters and couches, so we're training through that. But so I don't know if you talked about this, but like before the Clippers game, you and I were trying to figure out what we were going to talk about, and I thought the Lakers loss was the worst loss of the season. Not because the Lakers are bad; they're actually playing really good basketball without LeBron, but it was just, you have this opportunity to go on the road, you're the 3 seed, like make a statement, really start to push towards the playoffs, and you come out and you look terrible. And I think we should talk about that game a little bit. And then the Clippers game last night, again, you just come out, and I think you tweeted it out in the first quarter like they had taken one shot because they just kept throwing the ball to the other team. So Jace Frederick, our friend, Pioneer Press, gets a lot of shit, I think, for the way he covers Ant or brings up these stats about Ant, because people think you're going to blame all this on Ant. And I don't think that's what Jace is ever doing. But there are like pretty, like that usage stat that they mentioned last night on the broadcast too. That's a real thing. And we're going to talk about Finch and a lot of blame, and Julius and a lot of blame, and Ant. But the Wolves are 26-13 when Ant scores 30 points or less. 26-13. They're 14-13 when Ant scores more than 30 points. I'm not saying blame him. I'm not saying, this, get him out of here, or he should demand. That's a real stat, though. They're 26. They win 66% of their games when Ant scores under 30. Now, last night, I thought, and maybe you can push back on this, but like he was going last night. He was trying to play safety on defense and transition, getting back. Like I thought he exerted himself a lot last night. I'm not really putting the blame on him.
I thought it was a 0 out of 10 on defense, but
okay. No, yeah. I maybe am remembering one steal he had. But 36 points,
which he does all the time. He had a great switch on to Mathurin too, and locked him up one possession. But there's also 4 other possessions right before that Mathurin play where he gets back cut, and it's just effort.
Right. And I'm just saying, like 36 points on 11 of 17 shooting.
Awesome offensive shooting game. Yeah.
5 assists, 5 turnovers. I'm not like the blame Ant guy, but I also think too, when I always come on here and say he's the 6th best player in the league, he's the 7th best player in the league, all those other guys above him or in that range are held to a different standard, and it's not just about volume scoring. And again, he was efficient as hell last night, but a lot of his teammates, like you can go watch the plays. Like I know everyone loves Ant, but you can go rewatch a game and just focus on the other 4 guys, and they're just not engaged. And if I'm Ant and I'm like, well, Jaden McDaniels has been awful shooting the ball lately, why would I throw it to him? Why would I throw it to Julius, who I think Julius Randle is shooting 10% from 3 in March. So like, what am I going to do? Kick it to him? But that's kind of where I think the core issue of this is that he has pretty much, he even said it, I think Krasinski had a quote after the game where like, what happened? Like, what do you need to fix? And he was like, it's all about me. Like, it's all about me. I need to fix this. It's all about me. And it's like, it's not all about you. There's not really much more you can do offensively to put the ball in the bucket. I think you have to find more ways to get your teammates involved, but chicken or egg, if they're not producing, right? If Rudy can't catch and Jaden can't shoot and Dante's on a cooler right now, that is why I think they're in this predicament right now where they're just getting their basically stomped every night against not the best teams in the league.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we've learned over the course of this season from Anton in his role is he is one of the best at creating individual offense for himself at all 3 levels and doing so efficiently. He's better at every level than he has been as an individual shooter scorer than any year in his career. But he's also perhaps mistakenly been given the point guard role or misappropriate, that role has been inappropriately given to him, given what his skill set is. And there's nobody else out there to play point guard and to get his other teammates involved, like you're talking about. I hear what you're saying, and I'm seeing those possessions too, where it's like, okay, well, clearly there needs to be some activation of the other players involved here. But I think the question, and this is probably bigger picture and down the line and for roster construction, is you need to now have a real conversation of what's best for Ant and the team here. do you next year, does the next iteration of this team, do you want it to be where Ant's the point guard and your coach is referring to him as the point guard? And when you're watching the game, he's playing point guard. And then you're also watching the other 4 players on the offense around him being uninvolved. I mean, that screams to me like there is a missing piece here. It's technically missing from Ant's game, but I don't know. I didn't come into this season being like, my expectations for Ant are for him to be an incredible orchestrator of the Wolves offense. I think him given that role and that expectation has proven to be a little naive. You mentioned 5 assists tonight. I don't know. I mean, how many games do you think he has 5 assists in all year?
Well, can I give you an assist stat quick? If you just go to Basketball Reference and just sort career game logs and look at his most assists, I think he's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's had 7 games in his career of double-digit assists. But if you just go and look at the 12 is his career high. They are 28-7 when Ant has 7 or more assists. That's like the 35 entries right now on my screen. That's fucking incredible. Again, this is not they lose last night by 25 because Anthony Edwards, but it is like a organizational question now, not only for the rest of this season, for the next month of basketball, but big picture. I mean, does Anthony Edwards is a legitimate standard 2 guard? He's a shooting guard. He wants to shoot the ball. But when he makes plays for other guys and his teammates convert on those plays, they're winning 80% of their basketball games, 70% of their basketball games. And when his teammates aren't producing and then he's not facilitating, he becomes a volume scorer. And last night, again, he did it super efficiently. But I don't know. It's like it is this kind of weird fork in the road moment of that's not winning basketball games. And I don't know how that you've talked about this with Britt, I think, before, but and Jace too, getting him a slow start, getting other guys involved, right? Like a couple quick hitches and screen plays and slants for other wide receivers to kind of get him warmed up. And then fourth quarter, give the ball to the running back and let him kind of ice the game. He is still the best clutch player in the league, him or Shea. That's what you want fourth quarter. But if you need him to give you 18 points in the second quarter, you're probably trailing at halftime. That's just the thing now. And it's fascinating to think that they got here. And I think your big picture roster construction questions are really good because I still come back last night to watching the turnovers or the lack of ball movement or this game plan that they never follow. And I still think after all this time, it's man, they really need a point guard. And I'm not saying that Ant can't be, Luka or Harden or whatever, but it's they need someone else out there that does a lot of the thinking for Ant so that he can just go play basketball. And I don't know. I know it's kind of weird to say that after the success they've had with him and Dante in the backcourt, but these last 3 games. I
mean, you've said it a bunch of times. We're not talking about Ant. We're talking about why is Julius's play down, Jaden's play down, Naz's play down, Dante, all of them down the line. And that first and foremost is on those guys to be more consistent with their shot, right? More consistent with their approach, all those sort of things. Why I think we're having this conversation is what sometimes soothes that or makes that more smooth for players around the league, right? Is getting put in better positions by a player who's initiating the offense to be okay, I can just pass the ball to Dante here. I can just pass the ball to Julius here, or I can set this up to put Dante in an advantage situation coming off of this, or Julius to be able to catch and go, or whatever it might be. And Ant 10 out of 10 individual scoring. It's not a 10 out of 10, has not been a 10 out of 10 distributing the ball this season in that way. And it's the question of, do you just need to find another Mike Conley who's young, what Mike Conley was a couple of years ago, and put it next to him? I think probably, but if that doesn't exist, or if you just want to continue to give Ant, a over 30% usage rate, which most star players you do want to do, maybe Ant needs to be a point guard. That's part of the confusion here too, is we can look back and be oh yeah, well, Jordan had a point guard and Kobe had a point guard, all that sort of stuff. I do wonder if in the modern NBA, for players of that ilk like Ant, if you do just need to learn being a point guard and mastering that element of it too. Like, what guys are being, like you said, a shooting guard who are like that. I think just ultimately Ant is going to need to figure this out himself, or I guess they get a point guard, but it's I don't know. It's a gap. Do you get what I'm saying though? Like, it's
100%.
more of an in today's NBA. I think it's fair to apply more pressure onto Ant as the coaching staff, as the front office, to be like, yeah, we do have a roster that allows you to kind of be the chef here, you know? And you know, I don't know. It's not like it never works either. A lot of the time it works too. But when we start thinking about like the playoffs and stuff like that, yeah, I have skepticism that Ant, as the only guy who can really handle the ball, period, is going to be able to handle all of the like administrative duties of you know, monitoring this offense, especially in a playoff setting.
And this is where I probably would go reread Chris Hine's book, Ant, because I think the psychological stuff here is actually more important than the stats, because I think Ant, and knowing his upbringing, like, he has put in the work and done a lot of this himself to get to where he's at. And I think that comes through. Again, I can't get over this 28-7 stat when he has 7 or more assists. He's had 7 or more assists once this season. And it was when he had 9, and they beat a pretty good Cavs team by like a dozen. So, but again, like, I'm not even sure I'm fully criticizing him, because they don't really put a point guard around him to take some. I mean, the Mike Conley thing worked in the past. I think that's why you led to more well-rounded basketball. And Mike Conley is not playable right now. So then they have just more scorers around Ant. And I think the thing that I keep nitpicking on, and it's unfair to him, but in that Portland game, when you asked him, I know I've said this before, but when you asked him, like, what'd you like about closing the fourth quarter? He's like, well, I took every fucking shot. And then in that clip, or the next game, when he like gets into it with Finch, he says, that's what I fucking do. Like, he wants to be a killer, and he is a killer. But can you be a killer and also someone, to your point, that's like a chef that's feeding everyone else? Right? Are you a shark?
Which has been like the stated plan by him. Dante talks about it all the time. It's like, first 43 minutes of the game, everybody involved. We understand in the last 5 minutes, we're playing through Ant and living and dying with that every time. Like, that's the stated plan.
I'm okay with that. I'm actually okay with that. Like,
it's just what is happening those first 43 minutes. So everybody is involved. So you have scored enough and played well enough over the course of the game for the last 5 minutes of the game for it to be close, and for it not to be like last night, you know, where, you know, the last 5 minutes of the game, Rocco Zikarsky was in, you know, like,
that's not the plan. That is not the plan.
Right. Yeah, man.
And this is where I'm talking about Ant right now in offense, in a game where they got their doors blown off and gave up a historic amount of points. Like, probably should talk about the defense too, but I do find myself at a really weird crossroads with him, because he has become such an elite closer and such an elite scorer. But it is weird to be like, okay, but is that what this team needs? And then you can go chicken or egg of like, well, he's that damn good. Like, find the right pieces to put around him. Okay, maybe. But for what they need right now, what they need over these next 4 weeks before the playoffs, as they look at a tough schedule and try to climb back now from, I mean, I don't think the play-in is in play, but it's there. You see it. They need a more well-rounded 43-minute game plan, and then let 5 finish the last 5 minutes. Because right now he's doing way too much. And I know that sounds crazy. He's doing it well. He's doing way too much in the first 43 that by the time, like you said, they get to those final 5 minutes, it's Jalen Clark, Rocco Zikarsky pick and roll.
Today's show is brought to you by Treasure Island Resort and Casino. And this Sunday, March 15th, the Wolves play the Oklahoma City Thunder. Huge game. I think it's a real opportunity to kind of right the ship and right the vibe here. But it's a high stakes game. It's gonna be a difficult game against the Thunder. But the Timberwolves are hosting a watch party at Treasure Island for the game. The game goes from about 12 to 2:30, whatever, 2:30, 3 o'clock. And then afterwards, Chris Hine and I are going to come on and do a live podcast. We'll take questions from people there. We'll have an extra microphone. But it should be a fun day. It starts at 11. There's free breakfast served. Marty Gellner is hosting the watch party over the course of the game. They do a bunch of giveaways while that's going on. And then again, once the game is over, Chris Hine and I will take the stage and react to whatever sort of happened in that Thunder game and take your questions there. So Yeah, this is the last episode we are doing prior to that. So we would love it if you came out to Treasure Island this Sunday. Game starts at noon. We'll be there at 11, and we'll be doing the live show probably till about 4 o'clock. So make a day out of it. Come to Treasure Island Resort and Casino. You can visit ticasino.com for more details. Today's show is also brought to you by Prize Picks. Let's do a quick Prize Picks lineup from tonight's slate of games. We got good games. Spurs, Nuggets. The Spurs are 4.5-point favorites over the Nuggets. The Thunder are 7.5-point favorites over the Celtics. You can now pick against the spread over at Prize Picks. But let's look up what the Prize Picks lineup I made for this set of games was. Oh my God, I'm blanking out here. All right. We have, I said, Case and Wallace to have more than 8.5 points in that game. Jaylen Brown to have less than 24.5 points in that game. And then Jalen Johnson has a free square. If he scores a point, his square hits. There's always something going on over at Prize Picks. You can play daily fantasy every single day. But you can also, there's a lot more going on there now with the ability to do futures, point spreads, and all of that over at the Teams tab. If you don't yet have a Prize Picks account, all you have to do is put in the promo code Dane when you sign up. You'll receive $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. That's prizepicks.com or the Prize Picks app using promo code Dane. All right, Kyle, I want to talk a little bit about Kawhi in that game.
We should have started with him because he was awesome.
Yeah, he was absolutely incredible, is incredible. This team has absolutely nothing for him. 45 points in 31 minutes. He was 9 of 11 from 2, 6 of 9 from 3, 9 of 10 from the line. In those 31 minutes, Kawhi was on the floor. The Clippers won those minutes by 41 points, which means the Wolves won the 16 minutes. He sat by 16 points. He was the problem for the Wolves last night in that game more than anything else. We could talk a little bit about, how that's the force of Kawhi is a problem for this team. It's kind of like those big power forwards we talk about this team not really having anything for, like Zion. I always say, like, if Julius Randle played against this team, they wouldn't be able to guard Julius Randle. They lack the ability to guard these real forceful pieces. And I want to talk about it through the sense of, like, when this team is playing a good team or a really good player, their margin for error is just smaller than they think it is. That's what I kept thinking last night. It was like, I don't know why you think you're just going to be able to roll in this game when Kawhi is playing. He's clearly playing really well, and you don't really have many counters for him. Like, the response you would like to have sort of click in there is like, yo, we got to, like, play tonight to be able to beat Kawhi, because he's going to probably have 50 in this game. We don't have anything for that. And instead it sort of feels like, or felt like, well, maybe he's going to cool off. We'll get things going. No sort of sense of urgency around that. I thought it was the same thing. No sense of urgency at the beginning of the Lakers game the night before, where the Lakers, they missed so many of their shots in the first 6 minutes of the game. And you're like, all right, sense of urgency right now. Let's jump on this. Let's get up by 15 points in the first quarter. Nope, they just kind of rolled with it and played alongside of it. And it's kind of, we talk a lot about this team being able to leveling up and leveling down to the quality of opponent. And obviously the track record's the track record there. Good games against the Spurs, good games against the Thunder. We've seen that stuff from this team. But when it's this one individual player that they don't have answers for, like, the urgency really, really needs to pick up. Like, same is true if they were to play the Pelicans tomorrow. Like, urgency has to pick up if Zion's healthy and playing in the game. Like, we don't have answers for this. He's going to have a really good, effective game. So everything else that we do needs to be good to great. And I struggle with that piece, man, of, like, why do they think the margin for error is greater? I don't know, greater than it is in reality.
Two things. I think this would be an appropriate time to push back on when Bill Simmons said a week ago, and I was like, oh, I love that. When he's like, I think Jaden McDaniels is the best on-ball defender in the league, the best wing defender in the league. Well, you can't be that if in the last 3 nights, like, I've seen Desmond Bane, Luka, and now Kawhi just absolutely cook him. And it wasn't like Kawhi got all 45 last night against Jaden, there were Julius moments too. But if he's supposed to be, as we've used, or I have used this term before, like the shutdown corner, like you got to stop 4 touchdowns. And then secondly, and I just want to ask you this because you know it better than I do. Do you think the Wolves ever defend a guy that's on a heater like that, like Kawhi or Luke or whatever? Do the Wolves ever defend that player like teams defend Ant? Like, do you ever see them throwing 2 at them, like at half court, like we saw in that Portland game where Ant had to throw it to Rudy multiple times at the half court line, loading up in the gaps, like, or is it just kind of?
Here's the thing, dude. Here's the thing. That coverage is really, really easy to break. Remember, okay, end of the second quarter, they did that. They threw a second guy at Kawhi up top, like 35 feet from the basket. I don't know. It's like 15 seconds left. And Kawhi just goes, okay, just picks it up over his head, finds Derek Jones Jr., I think it was in the middle. Maybe it was Matherin or that Miller guy or whatever. And it's just like ping, ping, dunk. It's not a complicated coverage if you just move it against it. The issue that the Wolves often run into against that is they don't want to throw to Rudy in that spot. So there's 2 on Ant, and now it's like, cool, as Ant said after the Denver game, cool, my 4 are better than your 3 on the backside. But when you don't want to include Rudy in that, as they struggled to do in the Lakers game for sure, they struggled to involve him last night against the Clippers as well. It isn't my 4 versus your 3. It's 3-on-3 again on the backside. And I think that's the thing that Ant runs into is like, well, I could get it off here, or I could take that shot. You want me taking that shot. He's saying that because he feels in that moment that it isn't some advantage to get off of the ball there, when I think the Clippers in that game and what they rarely did against Kawhi was just like, if you just put 2 on them right here, really far away from the basket, bing, bing, that's over there. We've seen Ant do that too. Like Ant could do that when he consistently just commits to it. They're like, we're going to put 2 on you 35 feet from the basket. Easy money. You just got to do it over and over again. And sort of, if your Ant, rely on the idea, well, if I do this 3 or 4 times in a row, they're not going to bring it again. And then I'm going to get an opportunity here. I saw a lot of people talking about, doubling Kawhi. I think in post-up situations, maybe you want to do that when he's really in a spot where it's like, if you don't bring heavy help there, he's going to score for sure. I saw the pushback online about no double teams and stuff like that. The reality of the situation with the other good teams in the league, they love getting doubled. They love it. Bring it. We'll just go play 4-on-3 on the backside. And should have the Wolves done more of that? Like, yeah, you look at Kawhi's line, 45 points in 31 minutes. Maybe the move would be just to do that, but Kawhi and most other players are cool with, if you want to put 2 on me 35 feet from the basket, we're probably going to score here at a high clip.
We should probably put a pin in that because that seems like it ties into many other things. So then back to last night.
Do you disagree?
No, I don't disagree. I just think, again, I want to acknowledge that 6 days ago, it was like, hey, things are going pretty well. And I think that pod was probably not as true as maybe this pod and the criticism in this pod, because if other stars in the league are like, yeah, that's awesome. Every time, the classic YBL 3-on-2 drill, like you should always score. 4-on-3 power play or hockey, whatever, like you should score. So for other teams or other stars, Luka, Kawhi, Giannis, whatever, like for those guys to be like, I want that. Is it a roster thing again in segment 1, or like does Ant just need to trust it more? There's I don't even want to answer those questions.
Think a lot of it is a roster thing. I do. I'm not totally putting that on Ant. I get the hesitation there.
Okay.
Because the Rudy part, if nothing else, is a mind fuck, right? Of like, do we keep trying to go here? What's the percentage chance that he catches it? Like I get that element of it. And if you're Ant and there's just like heavy gap help in there, and you're like, okay, maybe I shouldn't just drive into these 2, but Julius is the guy who's 1 pass away. Like, he's paying attention too. Julius isn't doing much against that and catching and going recently, right? So, I think some of it's the roster construction. I think some of it is the roster's not playing well. Is not taking advantage of that. They did in the Denver game, but then kind of when they saw that coverage over and over and over again. But now, like, trust. I think a lot of it is trust. Is what Ant knows how to do it. I think he's somewhat reasonably lacking trust and executing against it, primarily because one of the two guys that is going to benefit from that most often is Julius one pass away or Rudy just kind of being ignored. And Ant's kind of like, well, those guys are not scoring effectively. I like my odds to score through a double team right now more than passing to Rudy or letting Julius play off the catch. I don't think that actually statistically bears out, but this isn't just math. Like, it's basketball. He's playing a game. Like, I understand, I think, what Ant's feeling in that moment.
Segment 2 is about Kawhi. So I just want to comment that this probably isn't true, but
but that's a good question. That's a good question about like the Kawhi of like, well, why? And often like, why can't the Wolves just do to star player X what teams do to Ant that gives the Wolves problems? I'm just trying to like describe there's a difference in the Wolves roster than there is a lot of.
I'm just here to toss softballs. So that was a good answer. I just go back to the Kawhi thing. Probably not true, but it does kind of feel. I've watched every Clipper game since they made the Harden trade just because I thought they did a really interesting way of like pivoting on the fly. They were 15 games below 500. I think they were 6-21 to start the season, and now they're above 500. Like, they have had an incredible turnaround, and I just kind of love Darius Garland and what he could be for that team. But Kawhi,
I think you love what he could be for this team.
Yeah. Hey now. I just think Kawhi's playing like the best basketball of his career. And last night, how efficiently, I mean, you remember he had that like 3 threes in a row. You know, I guess to defend Jaden in a set, like he was on an island, shut down court. He had no chance. And Kawhi is one of the best when he's scoring at that level. So I think big picture, watching what Kawhi did when he got doubled or whatever versus what Ant has to do, it's so interesting. And I know I criticized Julius earlier and said he was shooting 15% from 3 in March. Well, Jaden's shooting 11%. So if you're Ant, back to segment 1, as I'm just kind of looking at all this stuff, if I'm throwing it to my 0% three-point shooter in Rudy, or my 11% three-point shooter in Jaden, or my 15% three-point shooter in Julius, maybe I'll just take this 35-footer. So that's a huge issue. And again, Jaden shot 45% from 3 in February and 50% in January. Maybe it's just a cold streak, but also that cold streak is killing them. So it was kind of fascinating last night because Ant can give you 45 on efficiency too, but Kawhi last night when it was one-on-one, bucket every time, no answer. And it kind of felt like how Paulo was playing against him on the other night over the weekend, like no answer. That's a real issue. And then back to
big wings with force, man, are just really tough for this team. And Jaden,
well, that's a fucking problem because the best players in the league usually are big wings with force.
It's a 5-alarm fire for the playoffs, I think, because Jaden. I agree with the Simmons and Lowe thing you're referencing. I think Jaden is one of the best perimeter defenders in the league, point of attack defenders in the league. He is. That list, like, who else were they listing off? You're like, yeah, they're way better than Jaden. No, Jaden's really good at it. All of these guys have different, as perimeter defenders, have different skill sets. Jaden, I know Jaden's weaknesses because I've watched every game he's ever played in. And it's like the super speed guards, like Tyrese Maxey gives him problems. And then these big wing or like 4 type players like a Zion, a Kawhi, a Giannis, like he doesn't have answers for that. And that doesn't change my position that Jaden's a top 5 perimeter defender in the NBA. It's that when they play a really fast guard, when they play Tyrese Maxey, somebody else probably has to guard him if you don't want him to have 30. And when they play Kawhi Leonard or when they play another big forceful wing, somebody else probably has to guard them. Otherwise, they're going to get 40. And that someone else, when you're talking about a bigger player, is Julius Randle. And that's why I think it's super concerning come the playoffs is I start going through these matchups in the first round against Denver. Okay, Julius is guarding Jokic. Against Houston. Okay, Julius is guarding Kevin Durant. Okay, the Lakers. Julius Randle's guarding LeBron. Like, that's scary. Okay, and somehow you get through that. If you do get through that round and you're playing the Spurs in the next round, okay, Julius Randle's guarding Wemby. Because he is the only guy with the physical, that's how they're going to match it up like that. They feel there's the one with the physical profile there. So I think that's extremely concerning because Jaden and Rudy can't just can't just solve that guy. They don't have like the pieces. to be able to guard those players unless you're getting the awesome defensive version of Julius Randle that we saw at the end of the Spurs game, and what he did when they beat the Spurs there. But I just think they don't have a lot of answers for the top of the top guys to be able to slow them down right now.
So last night, no Io out with a thumb injury, I believe. And at the top, you said you thought Ant, whatever was a 9 out of 10 offensively just from the scoring efficiency, but a 0 out of 10 defensively. So I'm just curious as we think
like
about
2.
No, and I'm not criticizing you. Just if you think about that and what Jaden couldn't do last night, who do you think the second best on-ball defender was, like on the roster last night? Then, or like who? And the
Kyle or Dante,
right? And then it's like, okay, that's not great. So it is kind of highlight again, whether it be, I don't know if we should be doing roster construction deep dives on March 12th, but they just didn't have a lot of answers last night. And we shout them out every week, but like our guy Jake Painting did a really good video this morning on Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle's defense, and it's fucking horrific. Like it's really bad on top of all the other stuff that Julius is just not doing offensively right now. I think he's had 20 points once since Valentine's Day. Like that's a month of basketball now, even with the break mixed in. Like he hasn't figured it out. I don't think it's all his fault. I don't know if it's, again, back to Ant's just not getting other guys involved or whatever, but defensively, man, if the offense looks stale, I think it's interesting. You wake up this morning, they're outside the top 10 in offensive rating and defensive rating now, which has kind of been a simple cheat code for people to be like, well, if they're top 10 in both, they're a good team. Well, they're outside the top 10 in both now. So they're probably not a very good team, despite where they might be in the Western Conference standings. But yeah, man, I still dumbly think defense is their calling card. I remember when Julius stood up Wemby in that one possession of the late fourth quarter. When Ant turns it on, he can be a good on-ball defender. But those are just highlights. Like that's just hoops hype. That's not how they play basketball throughout the game. And if it is, they wouldn't be losing by 20 points 3 games in a row.
I mean, it's not how they play 95% of the time, right? I mean,
right.
Like the right word is Ant and Julius have defensive highlights, that like a play or two, and the lowlights tape, as I saw another one of those floating around from Julius Randle last night on Twitter.
That's tough, man. That is
those are substantial films. Like it is a lot. It is a lot of lacking defensive effort or just awareness. Sitting down and guarding or having your head on a swivel. I mean, just like sort of basic locked in defensive stuff. And I think you say like, we're doing a lot of roster construction talk on March 12th or whatever. What we're talking about is holes that are showing up in this roster, and how do you address holes in your roster other than with roster construction? But what we're saying right now is like this team, or at least in these last few games, is showcasing the holes that it has on the team that could theoretically maybe be ironed out by having some different personnel, different types of players on the roster. But yeah, we're talking about this because these are glaring holes in this team. If you're watching it every time, like the number of ball handlers, the number of guys who are consistently guarding in isolation, like containing the ball on the perimeter, the amount of guys who are like paying attention and pre-rotating, defensively, like that's just, they don't have enough of those guys, not just in these last 3 games, but over the course of the season. Ant and Julius aren't having a bad month defensively. They're not having a bad week defensively. They're having their awful defensive seasons. And yeah, we have the highlights to go off of that maybe makes you think, well, come the playoff time, I'm going to get more from them. I think you're going to get more from Ant and Julius in the playoffs. I do. But we're right here. Like you're going to get more than this low bar than they're at right now. Is that going to be enough? And when I start thinking about these matchups more, and like I was talking about with Julius, you just have to get a lot more. You have to get a lot more from him. And I don't think you get a lot more from Julius if the offense isn't there. And the offense has been missing in action for months.
Do you have any ads you want to do? Because I think this segues really beautifully You said something that's really fascinating. So can I lean into that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Well, we can take our break here, and then if we jump into that, is that cool?
Yep.
All right. Today's show is brought to you by Falling Knife Brewing Company, and Falling Knife is open late for these West Coast games. They stayed open real late for both of the LA games, the 10 p.m. start, the 9:30 start. On Friday, it's Wolves Warriors. That's a 9 p.m. tip. Maybe a little bit easier to get out to the tap room on a Friday night. The games are always on at Falling Knife, on the TVs, on the projection screens. Sound is on. If you're getting together to watch a game with friends on Friday night, I mean, why not do it amongst other Wolves fans at Falling Knife? I also mentioned this yesterday as a new Survivor fan myself. I was excited to see that Falling Knife is doing Survivor trivia this Sunday at 5 p.m. So obviously for every Wolves game, you can go to Falling Knife and experience the tap room there. But also there's a lot else going on there too. Follow them, Falling Knife BC on Instagram. You'll see the schedule every single week. That's Falling Knife Brewing Company in Northeast Minneapolis. All right, we are back with Kyle Theige. Where do you want to go next?
You said something about roster construction, and it's more about these glaring holes, right? That I think are being emphasized now because there's one more lap in this race or this marathon. And all three of these games I've watched, I think two of them are on national TV or whatever, but the Magic pummeled the Timberwolves, and on the broadcast, they talked about Jamal Mosley, head coach of the Magic, having a really good game plan against Ant and kind of being like, you got to, just score, just shoot. And then the Lakers, I thought JJ Redick, despite there's some issues there, but I think he and his staff are really advanced and had a really good game plan against the Timberwolves. And then last night, I mean, Ty Lue and Jeff Van Gundy, I mean, he's got a great group of assistants. They had a really good game plan. And they're kind of like that 300 GOAT path thing I always highlight. Like now that these games, they didn't get blown out by the Wizards. They got blown out by teams that are battling. Like we need to start winning games. And they're treating them like playoff games. Like they are really scouting and having a good strategy on how to beat the Wolves. And they're kicking Minnesota's ass. And it just kind of made me think about this game plan thing, because you and I were talking about this offline. But every time the Wolves get punked, they go to the locker room and they say, the coaches had the right game plan and we didn't follow it. And it's like, we've heard that now. Jace had a great stat, right? 13 times now they've been blown out by double digits. And they still have 17 games left. Last year was 12. And the year before that, or last year was 10. The year before that was 9. So they are losing more games by double digits than ever before. And then when they come into the locker room, they say, well, we didn't follow the game plan. So after that Lakers game, I just want to share this real quick story. Someone from the team called me. And that next morning, they talked about like, the game plan is a real document. It's like a real thing. It's like like the Finch files. Like it is a real thing that exists, that the scouting department and the assistant coaches, they all are assigned to different teams. They put together a physical game plan similar to the headshots and brief bio of the officials that are posted in the locker room every game. Mm-hmm. So tonight I walk by the entrance to the locker room. Zach Zarba is officiating. Here is his mugshot, and here are his tendencies. Similar with the game plan. So against the Lakers,
that's the first place of the game plan the first page of the game plan is they have the 5 starters, and you've seen this before, right? Where it's like green, where you stop short, it says like short. That means you're not closing out all the way to them. Then there's one in yellow, or the short is red, yellow is to touch. You're closing out to touch, and then green is flush, right? Yep. Where you're running the guy off the line. It looks exactly like the referee scouting report, and it's the first page of the Wolves game plan for the given night.
I don't want to stumble over this because this is as close as I get to reporting. This person I talked to, they see the game plan. So the morning after the Lakers game, and I'm thinking like when I watch the Lakers game, it's like, man, they got cooked in a 2-3 zone by Luka, Austin Reeves, Luke Kennard, Jake LaRavia, and DeAndre Ayton. And the person I talked to was like, dude, it talks about in the game plan that JJ is going to throw a zone at them. And the way to crack the zone, again, shout out to youth basketball leagues, is to have someone in the middle and then move the ball. Get Luke Kennard moving side to side. Get Luka moving side to side. In the game plan, it talks about this team specifically is going to throw a zone at us, and it might be early. In addition to the green, red, yellow of like, hey, red, for
Yeah,
Luka.
yeah, yeah.
Do
Less
not
important,
do
yeah.
not jump at Luka. You know, like he's going to get you every time. And it's so detailed. Like there were so many things about, hey, the Lakers are going to throw a lot of, gap help, and they're going to lean into, and they're going to force Ant to get off the ball. They're going to force Julius to get off the ball. Like they don't want Julius, doing his shit from 15 feet because they're scared of that. So they're going to force him to get off the ball. And when you think back to the Lakers game, Ant and Julius did not get off the ball. So I say all of that to say that someone who works for the team and has seen these game plans and has seen these scouting reports is like, it's a real thing. It is a document that every night gets printed out or gets emailed. Why are they not following it? And this is now the big chicken or egg for me, fork in the road, whatever, of like, is the textbook too advanced for the students and they don't get it? Are the students tuning out the teacher? Is there some middle ground there? Because it does seem like time and time again, and I'm so fucking tired of it, of hearing that the coaching staff had the answers to the test, but the players didn't study. And I'm not saying it's all the players' fault. I'm not saying it's all the coach's fault, but it does. Ant, Julius, and Finch are the three guys that come to mind of like, you're the two best players and you're the head coach. You all deserve a ton of fault here because it's not working. And I think when I think of this season later this summer, I will think of the word game plan. That'll be my weirdest team ever, is that so many nights they're like, yeah, we just didn't listen to the game plan. That is now telling me more than I think it told me 2 months ago.
I like the way that you put it. It's a question of not of if the game plan exists. We know
it does. It's a physical thing.
Yeah. Is it resonating with the players? And so that would be something like, just because there's a game plan doesn't mean the coach is absolved from all blame, right?
100% no.
The coach would be absolved from blame if he was delivering the game plan in too complicated of a way that it wasn't resonating with the players. And, I think that would maybe be a leap that you could reasonably take. But I've seen the game plans before. They have, again, like we said, the first page, and it's all about the individual players on the opposing team. Then there's like another extensive page that they jam it all on there. There's all these like different boxes, and it's all these sort of trends, all this sort of stuff. And then there's another page that is like extremely distilled down into like a few keywords of
like a business summary.
Yeah. Which is, to me, when I saw it before, I'm like, that makes a lot of sense, because part of it too is like, literally they had a different game plan 24 hours before they had the game plan against the Clippers, right? You're cycling through these game plans quickly, and maybe some of them aren't as good as they could be because there's limited time. And maybe they're not studied, as closely as they need to be because there's a lack of time. We know from the track record that when this team has a ton of time off in advance of the playoffs and has had 5-6 days off to practice before, that the game plan really resonates. We have a proof of concept there on that. I think the question that you bring up right now is like, is this resonating? Is a fair one. That's a question I have too. I just, from a literal standpoint of the game plan, I would point to the fact that it is very much being given to them at whatever reading level they want to think about it at. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah. That makes sense, yeah.
So again, that's not enough if you're the coaching staff to just be like, well, we've done a game plan and we've done it in all these different sort of ways so that it resonates. If it's still not resonating, that's still an issue. Because it's not. The players are consistently saying we're not doing the game plan that we were told to do before the game there. But I'm glad you brought that up. I think that like fills in some of the picture here. It still doesn't, I don't think that allows us to take blame completely off of Finch.
No, I would
at all. But yeah, it exists.
I would dive deeper into it. Like, I think this morning that Chris Finch is the best coach in Timberwolves franchise history. And I also think that he deserves more criticism this season than any season before. And if you just kind of go order of operations, right? You talk to so many people from other teams, like other teams have mentioned in the past when you're at their post or pregame stuff like that, the Wolves do a really good job of scouting and putting together these game plans. So I think there's a good answer sheet that they give the players pregame. I come from just a belief system that flat starts time and time again, and you see the Wolves flat starts last night, turnovers, right, to start the game. I'm putting that on the high paid players that get paid a lot of money to just play basketball. You can say, well, did the coach not fire him up before the game? It's like, I don't know, man, professional basketball, right? Like flat starts to me are on the players.
And probably not. Finch probably didn't fire them up before the game,
But yeah, I know what you mean. Flat starts, though, to me are more player based. But then in that Lakers game, right, you have this really good game plan, and it says what the Lakers are going to do, and the players aren't doing it. So now it's kind of like, come on, players, like, blame on you. But then back to the coaching staff, what changes did you think Finch and his coaching staff made throughout that game? Because to me, it was nothing. It was just the cake bake analogy of this is our game plan. There's no pivot. There's no change. There's no, a lot of people, I think, get on Finch right now because of accountability. Like, if players are not following the game plan, even if it's Ant and Julius, right? Like, is there any accountability to force them? Because we don't see accountability, right? We don't get to go to practices. Like, we don't see a lot of that stuff. And you hear that there's accountability. You hear that even Micah Nori can be a bad cop at times at practice. But what do you see on the court? Like, where is that moment that he just says, fuck it. Like, you guys are out. Jalen Clark, you're getting early second quarter minutes. Well, that's probably not going to lead to productive results. But like, what is the in-game stuff that then it's not all on the players, it's not all on the coaches, there's some Venn diagram in the middle, but like, that's where I start to get lost more and more of in the game. What are you doing differently? And maybe there's stuff I just don't see, and you
I think what you are pointing at is like a coaching tactic that Finch does have of like waiting it out and not like, and the positive way to frame it would be like not to pivot too early, right? I think that's Finch's like what his thinking would be like, we're on this track. We know that this is the best track. We just need to get on it, right? And I think he's a patient, like incrementalist in how he approaches this stuff. I think a louder thing or something we notice a little bit more that represents this in him is like he's not quick to a timeout. It's the same sort of thing. It's like, well, I'm not going to come up with a new plan. This is the plan. We're not on that track, and we haven't been on that track all game. I think where you see them pivot in the middle of the game is when they're doing the game plan. You know what I'm saying? And then that's not working, and you realize, oh, they have different personnel. They're guarding. The opponent's game plan is different, and it's stifling us. So now we're going to adjust. But I think as to the Lakers game, for sure, I'm sure some adjustments happened, but largely they didn't. And I think that coaching staff would be laughing right now, listening to this and being like, what did you want us to do? It was a 2-3 zone, like we kept saying, do this, that one, it just because the Lakers kind of stayed in that the whole time.
I mean, I would also be, and I like those guys. I'd also be laughing too. Because again, I highlight who was in the zone. Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, Luke Kennard, Jake LaRavia, and DeAndre Ayton. None of those guys, to me, are even 5 out of 10 defensively. And again, that's probably why you throw a zone out there and stuff. Everyone knows playing zone in rec league. It's because no one wants to play real defense. But they shut down the Wolves. And I'm coming back to this accountability.
And Smart was out there too, and Vanderbilt, who they gave them problems. I mean, it wasn't all zeros out there for the Lakers, but yeah.
But the sum of the 5 parts was like 6.
Sure.
But then to this accountability thing, like I think, Ant, we already did a deep dive into the, when he's a playmaker, what the results are. Julius, we've talked about the 3-point shooting thing ad nauseum. He has 20 points once in the last month. He has 22 assists in March and 20 turnovers. Like, again, like we're just, if you have the right answers and the players don't study, and now you're down 8 at the end of the first quarter, saying what to this, I know it's hypothetical, but like they're laughing, like, well, what would you do? I don't know, man. That's not my fucking job. Like your job is to pull levers in the game because you can't just keep, I think this fan base specifically has become really frustrated with this idea that, the cake bake analogy, just, if you just give it more time, and maybe 6 weeks from now, I'm going to look like an idiot because they have beat the Nuggets in 5 and Julius is the hub of the offense again. But it's not just 3 bad games. Again, it's the whole month of March that he's been bad. It's the whole, last couple of weeks that Jaden just hasn't been good offensively. Dante has not been very good scoring. So I just don't know what they do in game. It'd be a fascinating thing to like get a deep dive on from someone way smarter than me. Like they did try this against the zone because they threw Kyle out there, not against, he was out against the Lakers, right? Or was it the Magic?
Magic
Like that's an option they're doing, right? Like they're trying to be like, okay, the ball is not moving. That's one answer they have now. They didn't have a month ago. When the ball is not moving, let's get Kyle out there. But then last night, I don't know if it was foul trouble or not, like Kyle was playing a lot in front of Rudy. And it's like, well, when Rudy's not on the court, man, they're going to give up 153 points. So it's like, even when they try a different lever, the dam breaks somewhere else. So I do think I wanted to mention that game plan thing because I don't know. It's the word of the year. And it, to me, has hit a level now of, I don't know. It's probably something we're going to discuss a lot if and when they get bounced in the playoffs because there's just a schism there, right? And it's on high alert right now because of how they're losing. It's not just that they lost 3 in a row. You and I said 5-game winning streak. This team has a 2 to 3 game losing streak in them. I think it's only the second 3-game losing streak in the last 3 or 4 months. But we knew this was coming. But it's the way they're losing these games that give you almost no hope that they can dig themselves out of this hole. And they typically do prove you wrong, right? They zag when you think they're going to zig, but I don't know. That was a rant. I'm sorry.
No, I was just thinking of like one game plan tweak that we do see often and we can diagnose is when this team is behind, the game plan shifts away from playing Rudy and into playing the Reed Randle front court lineups and trying to score their way back into it. And I think of the things that I know and understand, and that's one that I know and understand is I'm actually like tracking the rotations and stuff like that. I'm not in the huddle, so I can't grade the adjustments that are happening, or I'm just probably don't know enough about basketball to be able to do that. But I've never liked, and I've talked about it many times, I've never liked how the pivot when they get down is to go away from Rudy. And I know that that's hard. We were just talking about how that's hard there, but it seems like Finch and this coaching staff wants to live with the volatility of Julius Randle more than they want to live with the up and downs of Rudy Gobert. And I don't understand that. I don't understand that piece of it, because even if the offense is going to be worse with Rudy out there and clunky at times, I don't get why the alternative is just to be like, okay, just bench Rudy and go with Nance and Julius in the front court when that's clunky too on offense at time. I mean, it's very good numbers offensively, but that one can get clunky as well. And then obviously defensively, you just lose Rudy. And I don't like that Finch does it, because to me and my understanding of this team, like Rudy Gobert is the second most important player on the team. And when
everyone associated with this, everyone has a different best and second best most important player on this team. And I think that's also like an issue. We don't have to talk about it now, but I think if you say that and then Britt says that and Finch says that, and we all have different answers on the bubble sheet, I think that's I'm serious. I think it's a huge fucking issue. Hierarchy would be another word that maybe we could talk about next pod, but I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it's a good point. And it's confusing too. It kind of is, because it's like, well, can Rudy Gobert be your second most important player? Just given what he does and doesn't do there. But yeah, I mean, just big picture, when I have frustrations with Finch, it's oftentimes of who's playing and when they're playing. Like last night, Bones Highland is rolling and he picks up his third foul with 7 minutes and 22 seconds left in the second quarter. Bones is rolling.
Yep.
And it's like, sub, you're out for the rest of the quarter. I don't know. I think that's fair for me to question that. Why did Bones have to come out? Are you really concerned about him picking up 3 more fouls in the 9 more minutes he's going to play for the rest of the game? Why did that happen? The game previously against the Lakers, Io picked up a third foul about 6 minutes left in the third quarter. And Finch again, a bench player who doesn't play more than 25 minutes. What are the odds of at that point in time, if you just let Io play all of his minutes, you lowered his fouls, what's the percentage chance that he fouls out? It's low. It is low. But instead, he took Io off the floor and he put Kyle Anderson into the game. And in the game at the time was Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert. You know what we know pretty well isn't going to work? The 3 non-shooter big lineup. No shooting from Rudy, no shooting from Kyle, pretty much no shooting from Julius. Like, I'm saying with the Finch criticisms, I'd be more into like specific stuff. I'd be interested to read that. I'd be interested to hear that. But game plan, back to your point of like the idea that they don't have a game plan and they don't have an offense. You might think they don't have a good offense. You might not think they have a good game plan, but that they don't have an offense, that they don't have a game plan. Like, that's not right. Like, let's talk about things with Finch, because I don't think he's above reproach here, especially after these last 3 games. But let's talk about the specific things that we actually know to some extent what we're talking about there.
Can I give you one? Because I have a real one. It's very minor to most. It actually drives me absolutely fucking crazy. And I think it's on the coaching staff. Minnesota picked up their 32nd delay of game last night, which leads the NBA. It is the 2nd year in a row they have led the NBA in delay of games.
Yes. Great example. I've thought about this too. Yep.
And it has led this year, 32nd time it's happened, 6 times it's led to a free throw.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I understand that this team shoots 90 times a game, and there's 82 games, and it's a whole lot of numbers. So 6 free throws over the course of 65 games doesn't seem like a lot. To me, it highlights massive immaturity and massive unearned arrogance that this team just continues. A team, by the way, that does not think they get a good whistle, a podcaster who doesn't think they always get a good whistle, a coaching staff that definitely doesn't think they get a good whistle and doesn't have the best relationship with the officials. They tell officials to go fuck themselves 32 times now this season by just these little things. Like that's a minor one, right? Like, that's not probably moving the needle from top 10 offensive rating, top 10 defensive rating to outside it. But it is like a microcosm of, you want a specific thing. I see it 32 times in the games I've watched. Jaden grabs the ball. Stop doing that. Right? They don't, have a jersey tucked in when they come in. Stop doing that. Like, those little things to me highlight, because I see them. I don't see practice. I don't see shoot arounds. I don't see what's on the bus. But if I'm seeing that on TV, you can at least conspiracy theory your brain a little bit to like, what happens behind the scenes. That domino meme, like, if that's the small domino the guy sets up, what the fuck is the 5th piece that we don't see behind the scenes?
Today's show is brought to you by Rula, R-U-L-A, and Rula is online therapy that won't break the bank, and that's because Rula works with most major insurance plans, making it so sessions can cost as little as $15, in some cases even $0, depending on your benefits. For me, I'm really grateful for my experiences with therapy. They've helped me make sense of things in life that don't make sense. We've got a lot going on. Keeping our heads clear as possible is the best thing we can do for ourselves. I know for me, in hindsight, there were other times in my life where I'm sure seeing a therapist would have helped me get through that difficult time better, more easily, but there were barriers to entry then. Having fast, affordable access to the right therapist, that would have made a difference for me. And that's where Rula comes in now. Rula makes therapy simple, affordable, and fast. They work with most major insurance plans. Again, the average session copay is just $15. That's basically the cost of lunch, but instead of a sandwich, you're investing in your own headspace. Thousands of guys have already used Rula to finally get the care they need. Don't keep putting it off. Go to Rula.com/DaneMoore and get started today. That's RULA.com/DaneMoore. Take the first step, get connected, and take control of your mental health. Today's show is also brought to you by Thrive Market. And when we are ordering groceries this time of year, we are using Thrive Market and our membership there to get groceries delivered straight to home. I love it because it only costs $5 a month. Thrive Market is a membership-based grocery service where you can shop from wherever you are simply by hopping on their app. And the membership breaks down to just $5 a month, giving members access to weekly sales, personalized shopping, and peace of mind, knowing there's no junk in any of the products that they carry. Instead of paying, fees on every grocery order delivered, you pay once for the year and benefit from them every time you shop. And there's no trade-off for good tasting food. These memberships give me access to brands and flavors I never see in my local store, but I've discovered a lot of things that I like that I hadn't tried before. There's peace of mind in your shopping. You're paying a small monthly fee to offload the stress, research, and decision fatigue of eating healthy, and you can try it risk-free. I pay $5 a month, so I don't have to think about anything, any of the ingredients I'm going to be consuming. And there's no hidden fees at Thrive. I could spend way more on delivery fees or just pay $5 a month for Thrive Market and my membership there. I'm using this. I think you should try it out too. If you're ready to make some healthy swaps and become a member, join Thrive Market with my link, thrivemarket.com/DaneMoore for 30% off your order plus a free $60 gift. Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
That's a really good example. And I think it's a good example because it is one that we see all the time. It's a lack of discipline. It's an immaturity that we see that's not really arguable. Like they do that. There's plenty of things we don't see and we don't understand, and that's that's hard for us to grade. But yeah, dude, those things are consistently apparent, and also the coach is saying it's a moody team. Consistently saying it's a moody team, again, with all of this sort of stuff, and we're like pointing it towards Finch or pointing it towards the players, like it's all an issue that isn't getting resolved. And I know we certainly the fan base likes to separate, Ant versus Finch or Randle versus Finch, and it's just all interconnected to me. Like those are your leaders.
Yeah, exactly.
And I throw Rudy in there too. Finch, Ant, Julius, Rudy. Like that's your leadership core of this team. And I don't think they collectively lead well. I think they rarely collectively lead well there, and they allow room for these moodinesses, this lack of discipline, the bickering, and yeah, what are we supposed to think? Like, if I had to bet right now, if there's stuff going on behind the scenes, based on what I'm seeing on the floor, wouldn't be shocked to hear, right, that there's bickering going on between players and between the coaches to players in that locker room as well. Like, why would we not glean that from what we're seeing happening on the floor? If you pick up the discipline on the floor, if you get back to playing with consistent effort, I think you're going to lower that stuff. But if you keep ignoring the wound and allow it to get infected, as it seems like it has, like it seems to me like this team's maturity level is what it is. Like,
I would agree. I think that would be.
I wouldn't necessarily think it's going to get worse, but I don't think it's going to get better. And maybe that's on Finch too, of like you allowed this environment to exist. It's a chicken or egg. It's like, okay, did the coach allow that to exist, or did the players who are paid way more and have way more power in the organization just demand, no, this is the way we're going to carry ourselves? I would think it's the players. And then the part I don't know is like, as a coach, is that then your responsibility to fight that? And to not let that be what the reality. I think it is. I think all of those things are going on without necessarily, we're not abreast to the specifics of everything.
I just think, and you can think it's a straw man argument or whatever, but I think multiple years leading the league in delay of games, and that's a detail, right? That is just a detail in a game, 48 minutes. But if you won't pay attention to that detail, then why would you pay attention to whether it's red or yellow or green on the game plan, right? Facts, like if you right, it's just if they're not detail oriented, and you skip the line about how they're probably going to throw a zone at you. JJ's going to throw a zone at you, and they're going to do this, move the ball. If you skip that line, just like you skip green, yellow, and red, and you skip tucking your jersey in or not touching the ball when it goes to the basket or any of that shit, you get a team now that is going the wrong way fast, while other teams in their little pocket of the Western Conference standings are making statement wins and trying to peak at the right time. So pretty wet blanket pod, but I think that's where we're at right now. I think the issues of this team all season have been covered up when they win and highlighted when they lose, and that's just how covering basketball in 2026 works. But the way they have lost these last 3 games, it's the lowest point of the season. I'm sure they will try to pick themselves back up and they will turn it on. They believe an immature team believes they have a switch. That is confirmed. I know that those guys think in that locker room they have a switch, and they will turn it on come playoff time, because for the last 2 seasons they've played deep into May, and they think we can do it again. I do not think
they do have a switch. They do have a switch. I absolutely, like, we've seen the switch. I think the thing we forget about when we talk about turning the switch on for the playoffs is, like, a series is 7 games. I don't doubt that the Wolves can turn. Yeah,
you know
sure.
what I mean?
Or it's just, or it doesn't work 7 times. You can go click, 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 click. Like, that's what I'm concerned about is their ability in a 7-game series. Like, in a 7-game series, okay, let's just say what would it be? Houston, is Houston 3 right now? If they played Houston in a 7-game series tomorrow, like, how many of those 7 games is the switch not going on for the Wolves? I think probably 2, right? At least.
So now you got to win 4 or 5.
Yeah, like that's the piece. Like, I hate the switch thing in general, but I cover a team that very much has one and is very much in that mindset. They've been in that mindset since Thanksgiving. That, like, we're a switch team. We're going to be a flip the switch on, energy off, whatever. Adjust accordingly because we went to the conference finals 2 times in a row. Whatever. That's the way they are. I would just question, even if you believe in the concept of the flip the switch, ask yourself, if you haven't been having the switch on for more than 60% of the time during the regular season, are you telling me you're going to have it on 100% of the time? You can tell me it's 80% of the time in the playoffs? I don't think so. I think it's too hard to handle.
They believe they have a switch. We believe they have a switch. But again, stupid analogy, but, like, I think there's a dimmer on it. I don't think it's as bright of a switch as it has been in the past. And I also think, talking it out here with you, banners, rings, and switches are all earned. Like, if this team thinks privately that they have a switch, and that switch is maybe we get one between May 20th and May 31st, but we lose in 5 again, that switch is dim. And you haven't shown anything now this season, and they've had good basketball, right? Like, up until this morning, they basically hovered in the top 10 offensive defensive rating, but now they're out of it. And now it's like these other teams, like I said earlier, the Magic are trying to climb the standings, the Clippers, the Lakers, these teams are in win now mode. And when they beat the Blazers the other night, and Dante said, every game matters now. Like, we know we got to kind of turn it on. They did it on that road trip. This road trip, 0-2 Friday night game coming up against the Warriors team, who I would not throw into this category of trying to win games. They've lost to the Jazz and the Bulls. So the Wolves will probably right themselves and turn it around and avoid a 4-game losing streak. But big picture, man, I've got more questions than I think they have answers right now. And that's a tough spot to be in with about a month left of the season.
I know we're going a little bit long, but I do want to touch on the schedule thing really quick. I wrote down and sent to you, I go, is the schedule too tough for the Wolves to get to the 3 seed? Which it sounds crazy because a week ago I was talking about, I think they're the 3rd best team in the West. Like, kind of like that was my stance on it. But this 3-game losing streak has happened. They have 16 games to go. And I just want to, like, hit home what this schedule is. I split it up to you, 16 games to go. They have 3 games against tanking teams. 1 against Utah, 1 against Dallas, 1 against Indiana. Okay, so that's 3 of your 16 games. Then they have 7 games against 500-ish teams. Golden State, Phoenix, Portland, Philly, Charlotte, Orlando. And I put the Pelicans in the 500-ish group because they actually aren't tanking and they actually are like 500 over the last couple months. Then they have 6 games against really good teams. Oklahoma City, Boston, 2 against Houston, and 2 against Detroit. So my question to you is, given that that's the 16 that you're playing, and it's not the same difficulty of 16 for the other teams, for Denver, Houston, and the Lakers out there as well. They have easier schedules. I know we do the like, oh, it's good that they don't play bad teams sort of thing, so the switch won't be off. But do you think they can get to the 3 seed given that this is the schedule?
Yeah, because I think that switch is just bright enough to string together some games. Mm-hmm. But and it's a great question, and I'm glad you broke down the schedule. I think I literally graduated overnight to the biggest opponent, the worst opponent they can face is just themselves. I mean, we just did 75 minutes on the immaturity, lack of detail orientedness and the best players maybe doing the wrong things at the right times. I do think they can make the 3 seed because I have studied enough. Like the Nuggets and late game stuff are kind of weird still, and the Rockets, I still kind of think have holes in their game too. If the Lakers get LeBron back, they're actually not as good, which is weird to say. So I think all those teams can stumble, and I do think, again, as down as we are right now, the Wolves can string together a couple games, but I don't worry who they play on Friday. It's a bad Warriors team. There's no Steph. They're going to win the game. But I'm more focused on just what do they figure out about themselves, because I don't know. I know it's a lazy answer. I do think they can get there, to answer your question. I just think it's going to be more about internally than it is about whoever they're playing across the court.
And they're not far behind. I mean, the Rockets are the 3 seed with 25 losses. The Lakers are the 4 seed with 25 losses. The Nuggets are the 5 seed with 26 losses. The Wolves are the 6 seed with 26 losses. So they're literally a half game out of the 3 seed right now. And I'm saying, is the schedule too tough for them to make up a half a game? That sounds kind of ridiculous. So yes, they can get back there. I don't know. I feel a little bit different now after watching them play 3 500-ish teams in a row. Like Orlando was that, Lakers were that, and the Clippers were that, right? And they lost all 3 of those. So, and I do think last night, if they are playing a crappy team and they bring that effort, like maybe they still win that game. But the Clippers are good enough. They're like a middle of the pack team, right? And you don't have that margin for error against them if Kawhi's playing. So I look at these 13 games against teams who are 500 or really good, above 500. And I question what their ability is going to be in those 13 games to be better than like 7-6, 8-5, and does even 9-6 get you there? Yeah,
6,
I don't
7,
know.
I don't know. I'm with you though. I'm with you. And I think, like you look at the schedule, right? This Warriors thing should be a win. Then you play the Thunder, right? And that I think is an ABC like early game on Sunday. We have all the data on how this team plays in matinee games. And then you have a Suns team coming to town that has openly talked shit about you a little bit online. But I'm just at wait and see mode now. I mean, I know that's not what you pay to listen to, but because I think back to this switch idea, and there's guys in that locker room, they're like, well, we made a run last year and we were the 6th seed. So I know Horton said last night, and Horton's as plugged as anyone, he for the team, he's like, the stated goal of this team is to get a top 4 seed so that they can be a home court advantage team in at least one round. I don't know if I believe those players with that, because they probably think, well, you know what? We didn't need home court last year and we were fine. I think every year is different. And I think you should try to position yourself to be that 3 seed because it avoids, I still think Oklahoma City is so good, but if
it's almost important for future seasons. Like, because if the Wolves get 6 and then they win the 6-3 again, you know what I'm like?
Yeah.
And then for 2 years in a row, they've gotten out of the first round despite, not having home court advantage. Like, it almost would fuel more of this behavior in future seasons. Be like, we just got to get through the season and be a top, whatever, get into the playoffs and we'll figure it out. And I feel like they have some of that energy already,
And conversely, if they play around with their food and they go 7-6 in those 13 games against good or great opponents, and they slide to 5 or 6, I think 7 is out of reach, but and then they get bounced in the first round in 5 games.
1 loss, dude.
No. I know. I know. Okay. I know. Trying to put a little positive spin on this.
I agree. I do agree, but it's 1 loss.
I actually do calmly but sincerely think these final 16, 17 games will echo for years to come. And I know that sounds deep as hell, but if you do play around with your food, when you had that, you got to 3, right? You got to pole position. All you had to do now was control your own destiny, as they say, and you just gave it away in blowout after blowout loss. And then you get to the 6th seed and you get bounced in round 1 because it's a bad matchup, or you don't have that game 7 at home. I think that's when we'll be spending a lot of time then on roster construction. That will be the appropriate time, because I do think it'll then lead to massive changes, because you'll have told yourself, we hit a ceiling, a shorter ceiling than we've had in the past couple of years, and now it's time to make a pivot. So a lot of games left, good teams, bad teams, great teams. You never know what to expect. I do think weirdest team ever is more than just a one-year slogan. I think it's kind of an organizational thing. And we are back at that now, never knowing what to expect, but really disappointing. I was looking on Twitter, people pointing out that a week ago, you and I said the vibes have never been better and they are going up. And now I think the vibes have never been worse this season and they're going down. So tune in Friday, FanDuel Sportsbook Network. Oh, it's on Prime. Turn into Prime. Shout out to Michael Grady. He's working every night.
What a team. What a team. This was fun. I hope for listeners, it's still at least interesting to hear us talk about this because I don't know. It feels dysfunctional, but they are still a few small adjustments away from, making it work. Maybe not from making it work for like a championship, but they are a few small adjustments for getting back to being the team that we've seen all season, which is an above 500 team, but a team that has pretty notable flaws, right? So we'll see if they can get themselves back to that. I would assume they will, but I'm looking for ceiling stuff. That's what I'm looking for the rest of the way is what is happening or not happening that takes or gives to what their ceiling is. Because I know all about the floor. It doesn't exist. I don't care about it. I mean, it's like, I'm not worried about this team securing the floor because if the floor isn't secure, they're not going anywhere in the playoffs. It feels very much insecure right now. I do think that adjustments can kind of get you back to a little bit more solid ground. And then you got to try to shoot the moon with all the stats that you listed off about Nas and Jaden and Julius and their percentages and all that. And it flips back to all of them having back to their best month of the season. And if that's what you get from these guys in April and May, then like, yeah, you are still like that 8-leg parlay. Like you're live on it. You're live. I do the upside goes there. But it's just, it's feeling like distant odds because there are just there's a lot of cracks right now. And especially when the foundation feels as wobbly as it does, point at that crack and go, that crack goes a long ways down. That's a hole, that's what it's feeling like right now. But we've also done plenty of episodes the other way where we've talked about how drastically terrible the vibes are and what the team is doing. And then you come back a week later and we're like, all right, well, they won 4 or 5 since and beat the Thunder, like it sucks that they kind of need to do that again. And it's difficult competition, but they have done it again before. So we will see what happens.
You learn a lot more, though, about a publicly moody team and a conservative coaching staff. You learn a lot more about them when the chips are down and your back's against the wall a little bit. And in those moments, I learned something about a moody team of like, okay, we all thought that this could spiral and they fix themselves. But when you tell people you're moody and the mood is bad, it's way easier to analyze and break this. I mean, you can hear the excitement in my voice. Like I'm hyped now for these final couple weeks of basketball to learn about this team because they have done some successful things, but nothing worthy of earning a switch, a ring, or a banner. Like if a lot of these guys are here to win a title and that's all that matters to them anymore, and they say that, it kind of starts Friday night. And I'm going to be fascinated to see, can they pick themselves up and kind of isolate themselves from all the noise and us, you and I think being some of the noise, or do they continue to spiral? And this is kind of the beginning of the end of a chapter of Timberwolves basketball.
He's Kyle Theige. You can follow him on Twitter at Kyle Theige. You can listen to him typically on Fridays every week on the show. You're not next week, but 2 weeks from now, you're back in town.
Yeah, I'll be back in town for something. So I'll be back for Wolves Rockets on a Wednesday night. So that'll be fun. We'll be in the studio, but good luck this weekend. I think the snow will have melted maybe, but I think everyone that's listening to this, if you can, go down to Treasure Island on Sunday. Check it out.
I mean, it was genuinely fun. Like wasn't Treasure Island genuinely fun for that Spurs game? Like I'm obviously getting paid to promote Treasure Island and these sort of things, but I feel the same way about the Falling Knife ones. Like they're fun. It's a really fun time. And the cool thing about the Treasure Island ones that doesn't happen with the Falling Knife ones is we're actually watching a game. Like
you're just bouncing around. I'm bouncing around. Chris is gonna be bouncing around. Like I'm watching the third quarter with that high top table over there, right? And we're like all into it. And we're going. And I think it's cool. This one, you're gonna do a game pod after the game. So like as soon as it's done, whatever the result may be, let's talk about it and let's get like live reaction. And you're gonna have a hot mic for fans. Like, what did you think happened? I think it's really cool that you're doing a pod after the game. So yeah, again, if you have the time,
I'm
and the
nervous
ability-
about it.
That's fine.
Like,
A Bloody Mary bar. I know it's not free, but there will be Bloody Marys. So yeah, go check out
There's free
Treasure Island.
breakfast. I don't know if the Bloody Mary is included in the breakfast,
Hilton.
but there's free breakfast there.
But again, and you know, as I always say, and I never got to do my rant, but like, support those that support us. That's all we ask, right? Like that 3-game winning streak that was really cool, and we got a lot of good sound bites, and we learned a lot about that team. It's because Dane was on the road, and we probably lost money putting Dane up in all these hotels and flying him around. So if you can make it down to Treasure Island to support the sponsors of this show that support us, it's really big for continued coverage, because whatever this team does, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seed, you and I are going to be at those games come playoff time. And it's because of the people that listen and support this show. So we appreciate you very much.
Absolutely. 100%. Hope to see as many of you as can make it on Sunday at Treasure Island. And I will see you soon, Kyle. Yeah, that'll be the next episode. Nothing's going to be coming out after the Wolves Warriors game on Saturday morning. Like, we're not going to record on Saturday morning. The next episode you hear will be the live show at Treasure Island, and then we'll get back on track next week for another week of coverage as well. So yeah, until Treasure Island on Sunday with Chris Hine, he's Kyle. I'm Dane. Peace out.
How I'm feeling, man, I hope it never stop, yeah. Green and hot so you can find me in the crowd, yeah, yeah.